Man United 1, West Ham United 2. We've lost at the London Stadium, Marcel. How do you sum up that crap?
The first half was okay, and then the second half, obviously, I don't even know what happened. We just started to capitulate. It was definitely not like the first half anyway. And the players just kind of, I don't want to say down tools, but the level of their performance just dropped massively, and we end up losing this game. I don't even want to focus it too much on the manager, because
Is this all on the players? This one,
I think so.
so don't blame the manager. This is all the players because of how missed chance they had in that first half.
Yeah, this is definitely a lot to do with the players on the pitch. They've got to take responsibility for this result. That first half, you should be 3 and 4 goals up. I guess every game, that you play previously has an effect on the incoming game. So, the previous results and how we've been playing, the form, I guess you can put that on the manager. You have to, or a higher percentage of that has to go on the manager. Then you build up to these kind of poor performances. And in a sense, that second half, you kind of revert to type. No one really calling for the ball. But just everything was just so easy. The spaces at the back post all the time. The 50-50s were not winning. It just looked really just disjointed in the second half. So you can kind of say, previous results, we've seen something similar to that before. But I just have had enough of, the quality of these players. We can't trust them. They're definitely not players that can get us into the top 4. We've seen that, for the majority of last season. And I thought there would have been reasons for that. But this season now, you can just see it, they're not good enough quality players.
And also, I look at us as well, Marcel, man. But, mate, we're 14th, bro. Like, I know you're saying, like, don't go in on Ten Hag in this particular game. So who should be accountable at the fact that this team is 14th? We are just above teams who are fighting for their lives to stay in this division. And it's October.
Yeah, it's definitely on the manager. It's definitely on the manager. He picks the 11s. Like, I haven't agreed with everything that he does. There's times where I think I'm actually going to get more football. There's been times where I've been calling for Rashford to get dropped throughout this season.
He was really poor today.
Yeah, he was really bad. I mean, I don't like that Ten Hag decided to go with a 2 in the midfield. In the Premier League, it's a big task they're asking the 2 to do. So, his philosophy has been, this season and what he's been trying to implement just not worked. It's not been good enough. So I'm expecting, Ineos to make a decision, to get rid of him, to get someone else.
So when you say, look, just like, do you think, I know you said, like, obviously the other day, Ten Hag, and I don't want to, look, today, like you said, it wasn't Ten Hag's fault, but overall, the team's for him. What are you saying then? The manager should still stay in post to try and turn this around, or you're just alluding to there that Ineos should make the decision now and take him out?
I wanted them to do it in the time that I wanted them to do it, which would have been that international break. That's when I thought it made the most sense. But if you're not doing that now, it's almost as if you're making a situation where you're holding the players accountable for the rest of the season, and they have to have that level of accountability. For the last how many ever years it's been, we always dump the manager after 2 years. That's just been the attitude, and we never look at the players and say, well, turn this around then. Fix this, we're not setting up teams to, managers are not setting up 11 players to lose football matches. Ole wanted you to win matches. Mourinho wanted you to win matches and get into high positions in the league. But
yeah, and when you don't, you lose your job.
Well, you can't sack 22 jobs is what I'm trying to say. So those 22 jobs now, there's been an opportunity where that's kind of shifted in the sense of, well, they're not getting rid of the number one job or the main man. The players now have to kind of step up. I think that they should have got rid of the main man 2 or 3 weeks ago. If you haven't done that now, well, let's stick with it and see if he can get it to change and see if these players can be held accountable. I think it shows clear as day that in this fixture, the players are definitely the ones to blame. But, the more that we keep losing games, the reality and the fact of the matter is, outside of my own opinion, is Ineos will have to be forced to make a decision, whether it's your second 25 or so players or if you're second 101. So it's like, it gets forced out of their hand. But I think that what they're doing is pretty brave to me, because I would have done this 2 weeks ago, but
it was stupid.
Well, again, you'll make it play. We're seeing now with our own eyes that these players are not good enough. We're just seeing it. You can't.
Right, but if you're saying these players aren't good enough, right?
Mm.
But who bought these players, bro? Eric Ten Hag has signed all these guys. We can't on one hand say it's all on the players aren't good enough, but then say, well, actually, hold on a minute. who's the guy who's brought these in? Well, you did. You wanted Xerxes, you wanted Højlund, you wanted Martinez, you wanted Onana, you wanted Eriksson, you wanted Anthony, you wanted Mason Mount. Maybe you didn't want Casemiro, you wanted Frankie de Jong, cool. You wanted Mazraoui, you wanted De Ligt. We fucking got it for you. You can't spend 600 million and then just be like, well, the players aren't good enough. Well, then that's really, really bad recruitment. You're going to lose your job for that.
Yeah. And that's the direction it looks like it's going in. But at the same time as well, you got to expect the players to want to actually be accountable for their own performance and step up as well. But he does have a big portion of blame on that as well. You know, he's selected a lot of these players. I think the recruitment team is a bit a part of that as well, to kind of tell him, listen, you know, this player or that player is not good enough. But I do agree with you. I mean, you know, and I do understand that he's.
That's what I mean. Like, you can't get that kitty. It's like starting a new job and say, give me some resources, give me some tools. I need something. All right. Well, we'll give you 2 full seasons and then into the third, and we'll give you over 600 million. And the best return on that is 14th.
Well, some of the when you look at some of the players, the young players, when you look at some of the players though, you know, and Højlund, Xerxes, early doors, very early doors for them, first and second seasons, very early doors. You know, Malacia, if you're including that part of the 600, we haven't seen him. Mason might be including that part of 600, you just haven't seen him. Martinez, if you're counting him part of that, had a good return in the first season, but has been injured horrifically. How much football has he missed? So it's like that 600 million hasn't really been 600 million in, and then it's and judge.
How's the money was spent? It has been that. That's what we've spent.
Yeah, we've spent it, but it hasn't been able to play out. You know, when we're talking about some of these players,
we haven't spent money, and their teams are working. You can't.
We haven't seen Euro.
We haven't. You think Euro's going to fix this?
I don't. It's not quick fix. No, progression potentially. You know, and that's how you got to look.
I haven't seen any progression right now.
Yeah,
none.
Yeah, minimal. I mean, you know, the way that the team's playing is not good enough. But again, you know, some of these players, it's not even that they're not just good enough as well. Some of them, we have to see them, you know, improve within the Premier League structure. We haven't seen Euro at all. I think Martinez, but it looks like he's not good. The 80 million spent on Anthony is obviously a disgrace and doesn't work. That needs to be rectified. But, you know, it's either or. Like, I'm really on the fence now with it. I think I'm happy to see Ten Hag complete this season.
But why? What? How? What are you seeing that makes you happy to see him complete the season?
Well, I feel this, to me, I just feel like we've seen this before. We get rid of it's gonna happen again. Is there
a reason to stick with what this is? If that happens again,
because then we can really hopefully you can really see now the players that need to go and that don't need to go, and that we can accept as a fan base. We were never gonna finish in the top 3 positions in the season. It was always gonna be us trying to convert our old identity, counter-attacking football, defensive-based football, into a progressive style of football. And possession style of football, whatever, and that progression through that wasn't going to be easy. It wasn't going to be. We weren't going to be able to deliver that and finish in the top 3 positions for me. And last season, you know, was a lot of injuries and a lot of dysfunction for us. But this season, he tried to excuse. Yeah, minimal excuse.
It was completely up where he's left off. I just can't see any excuse. I just don't see the.
We have how many players injured? How many players are not available to his squad? It's like a 30-man squad, let's say, and there's about 9 or 8 players already gone for him to select from. Euro, who he purchased to change the dynamic, generational talent is not available. Kobe, generational talent is not available. Like, there's just so many.
When it was available, we were still losing all these games, Marcel.
Yeah, I hear that. I do hear that. But it's like, it was early on in the season. We're trying to. Mason Mount, who's meant to be an important part of the change of how we're trying to play football, not available.
Yeah, but what's the plan even when he does play? He's not going to play instead of Bruno. Where does he even fit? It doesn't make sense.
I think Ten Hag's made a huge howler in trusting Bruno in the 10 position as long as he has, because when we did see Mason Mount play against Fulham, when we did see him play against Brighton, it looked like a 10 that had a specific role and was operating in a certain style. When Bruno plays, it just is do what you want. So again, it's like this manager hasn't got a good hold of this squad, you know, in terms of sending them in a direction and getting them to play consistent football. Ineos should have seen that 2 weeks ago. If they're going to stay like this, then we have to continue to suffer and let the players figure it out and the manager figure it out and get us in a direction. But top 4 looks like it's done. That's a guaranteed now, and it looks like it's done. But I'm not going to invest too much, like last season. I'm not going to be too high with the highs. I'm not going to be too low with the lows now.
We ain't had any highs this year, so it's just all low, mate.
Yeah, so I'm not going to be too low with them though, because I understand that we're trying to get to a space where we're a top team, and right now it's just looking like dire football until it clicks.
Stuff is gonna click. But
All right, that's your views. Yeah, that's the best way for me to see it, bro. What else can I say?